Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Football Betting Series here on YouTube Premier League Edition. It's been a rough start to December. Our record stands at 6 wins, 4 losses with 0 pushes, for a loss of £56 exactly. Taking that away from our overall record, we're standing on 79 wins, 32 losses with 14 pushes, and an overall series profit of £447.91. So in the face of wobbling form, what I'm going to do is tighten up a little bit here, take some slightly safer bets and build up that confidence and build up that kitty once again. And if you think I'm talking some sense in today's episode, please drop a like down below and subscribe to the channel for more content. Without further ado, let's get into it. Our first selection sees 3rd place Arsenal playing host to 15th place Everton, and Arsenal were held to a draw in their last game away at Fulham. Jimenez got the Cottagers off to a great start, opening the scoring after just 11 minutes, but that's about all that the host contributed to the affair. They took 2 shots across the entire game and allowed Arsenal to dominate. Therefore, it wasn't really a shock when the scores were levelled up by Saliba from a set piece. However, the Gunners were unable to find that second goal, with the match finishing on as even 1-1. In terms of form, this result did break a 5-game consecutive winning streak, but the side from North London are unbeaten in their last 6. With the Merseyside derby being called off, Everton's last game was the 4-0 win against Wolverhampton, a game in which they were the much better side for sure. A 4-0 did flatter the Toffees. 2 of their goals came down to Craig Dawson, who, despite being a player for Wolverhampton, is actually Everton's second top goal scorer after Dwight McNeil. Outside of that weird stat, Everton only created 1.02 xG for their 2 other goals, and on a different day could have easily drawn the game according to the numbers. In terms of form, the victory against Wolves did break a 5-game winless streak for Everton. They may have dodged a bullet against an in-form Liverpool side, but Arsenal aren't too far behind them, so I guess it's a case of be careful what you wish for. When we look at the head-to-head records, Arsenal picked up a narrow win at the Emirates last time around. It was actually Everton that took the lead through Idrissa Gueye in the 40th minute, but Tomiyasu hit right back to level the scores at 1 apiece. And that's the way it stayed for the longest of time until Kai Havertz bagged the winner in the last minute of the game to seal all 3 points for the Gunners. On the balance of play, this was a deserved win for Arsenal, as they did dominate every major win predictor statistic against Everton from start to finish, and that result made it 3 in a row for Arsenal over the Toffees. My prediction for today's game is that I'm leaning towards Arsenal in this one. They've got the much better form coming into this game against a side who really do struggle away from home. When we look at the away form table, Everton rank in the bottom half, with just 5 points from 7 road games. On the flip side, Arsenal are one of the best sides in front of their own fans, as they rank in the top 4 on the home form table. They are also unbeaten in 6, winning 4 of their home games. Additionally, Arsenal have dominated the recent head-to-head record, so with all of this in mind, I'm going to back Arsenal to pick up another win in the first bet of today's episode. Our second selection sees 5th place Nottingham Forest playing host to 6th place Aston Villa. And Nottingham Forest managed to pick up a win away at Old Trafford by 3-2 against Man United. Chris Wood scored the 3rd goal for Forest, which actually put him as the top goal scorer of all time in the Premier League era for the hosts. It's mixed form for Nottingham Forest, 2 wins and 2 losses in their last 4 games, but it's good enough to keep them in those top 6 spots. They play an Aston Villa side who picked up a win in their last game by 1-0 against struggling Southampton. The sole goal in the game was scored by John Duran, and the Villains didn't really rest on their laurels though. Looking at the stats, they did press their advantage, they didn't allow Southampton back into the game at all, and when we look at the second half stats, they only allowed the Saints a single effort in that second period, and this shot wasn't even on target. In terms of form, it's back-to-back wins for Aston Villa now, and they appear to have returned to their form of earlier this season. When we look at the head-to-head records, Villa won the last match at Villa Park back in February. Watkins got the Villains off to a great start with his goal after just 4 minutes, with Douglas Luiz adding 2 more to put Forest 3 goals behind after just 39 minutes. Forest did hit 2 back in response, but Bailey did kill off the game with Aston Villa's 4th, with the game finishing 4-2. Form-wise, that result does mean it's 2 wins in the last 3 encounters for Aston Villa, and they're also unbeaten in 7 of the last 8 competitive meetings, and that's a record dating back to September of 2017. My prediction for today's game is that Villa appear to have turned the corner with their recent form, and Forest are still very much inconsistent. Additionally, Villa seem to have Forest's number, being unbeaten in 7 of the last 8 head-to-head matchups, so I am leaning towards Aston Villa here, but in recognition of their struggles in November, and Forest's decent home record, instead of backing Villa outright, I'm going to lay the home team for a half stake here in bet number 2. Our third and final selection in today's episode sees 4th place Manchester City playing host to 13th place Manchester United. And Manchester City's defensive frailty reared its ugly head once again in their last match against Crystal Palace. The citizens fell behind to Palace just after 4 minutes thanks to Muñoz's strike, and despite Erling Haaland returning the game to an even footing at the interval, they found themselves behind early in the second half as well, and they couldn't salvage more than a draw after Rico Lewis levelled before being sent off. Stat-wise, the game does look even. Manchester City took more of the ball as one might expect, but they failed to use their possession to really hurt Crystal Palace. They created a similar amount of efforts on goal and a similar amount of XG, so perhaps a draw was the fairest result. In terms of form, this means that City's poor run is continuing. Despite a win against Forest in the last game week, they are winless in 4 of their last 5 Premier League matches and winless in 7 of their last 8 across all competitions. They play a Manchester United side who were bested in their last game against Nottingham Forest. Forest came out firing and put the Red Devils behind after just 2 minutes. Højlund did stem the tide with an equaliser, but 2 second-half goals saw United go 3-1 down, and the game was almost over as a contest. Bruno Fernandes did manage to salvage one back, but Forest held on to win on the road by 3-2. In terms of form, this does mean it's back-to-back losses for the Red Devils, and it's not all sunshine and rainbows with the new manager. When we look at the head-to-head records, City came out on top in the last meeting between these two sides, winning the curtain raiser match in the FA Community Shield on penalties. Before this, Manchester United had picked up a win in the FA Cup final by 2-1, and this 2-game sample paints a pretty even picture. However, if we look a little bit longer, City won each of the 3 before the FA Cup match, making it 4 wins in 5 against their crosstown rival. My prediction for today's game is that this is going to be a really fun match to watch, and the Manchester derby is often the most entertaining game of any game week. Manchester City is still wobbling with their poor recent form, and if they go behind first, perhaps they will capitulate again. This really will encourage Manchester United, and we could see more of a 50-50 game transpire here. As a consequence, I think we're going to get goals. Man City have seen over 2.5 goals in 5 of their last 6 Premier League games, and in 7 of their last 8 matches across all competitions. Whereas the visitors, Manchester United, have seen over 2.5 goals in 3 of their last 5 Premier League games, and in 4 of their last 6 across all competitions. When we look at the head-to-head record, each of the last 5 Premier League games and 7 of the last 8 encounters saw over 2.5 goals. For all these reasons, I'm going to back over 2.5 goals for a full stake in the final bet of today's episode. So there we have it, just the 3 picks in today's episode. And as I explained in the intro, we're taking some slightly shorter picks here to regain a wee bit of form. We're going to start off with Arsenal against Everton. We're going to back the Gunners to win at home at odds of 1.26, a £40 stake to return £10.40. Also on the Saturday, we have Forest hosting Villa. We're going to be laying the home side at odds of around 1.55, a half stake of £20 to return 11. And on the Sunday, perhaps the biggest game of the weekend, the Manchester derby, we're taking over 2.5 goals in this match, odds of 1.46, a £40 stake to return £18.40. So across the weekend, we're going to be risking £100 to hopefully pick up as much as £39.80. Will we do so? Well, there's only one way to find out, and that's to tune into the next episode. But if you have made it to this point in the video, please drop a like down below and subscribe to the channel for more content. Don't forget to check out the continental picks in the pinned comment down below. And as always, have yourself a lovely day.